What's up guys and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Before getting started, I need to give a quick shout out and thank you to JS Skye who donated a very generous $50 on Patreon. Dude, thank you so much. Our first question this week comes from Scott LaBeau, who asks what makes Snoke and Kylo Ren different from the Sith. So far, all we really have is confirmation from Lucasfilm that they are indeed not Sith, but we don't know what that means, so I'm just gonna speculate here. The Sith were just a different side of the same coin as the Jedi when you think about it. One philosophy embraced the light side of the Force and one embraced the dark. But they both ultimately wanted peace in the galaxy, they just had different ways of going about that. And arguably, the Sith were willing to break far more eggs to make their omelet, but right now we don't know what Snoke wants, we don't know what his goals are, and I think that's ultimately going to be what sets him apart. So The Last Jedi in Episode 9, I'm sure we're going to learn more about Snoke and what he wants. Maybe he just wants death and destruction, which theoretically would strengthen his connection to the Force. I also think it's very interesting to note that he's so interested and invested in Kylo Ren because Kylo Ren is strong in both the light and the dark sides of the Force. So that right there seems to be a difference in philosophy. But I think we're going to learn just in general that his goals are very different from what Palpatine wanted. And I think it's likely we'll learn that his belief system predates the Sith and maybe even the Jedi. Joshua Schmaling wants to know if I think the Bendu is related in any way to the father from Mortis. Yes, I think you're onto something. The Bendu is the one in the middle, and the father was kind of the same thing. He was meant to keep the peace or the balance between the dark side and the light side, or the son and the daughter. And I think we're definitely headed in a direction where we're going to be revisiting some of their mysticism and philosophies. As weird as I think it is, I do think that Ahsoka is probably that wolf in the Season 4 trailer, and I think that's all going to be related to what she experienced on Mortis. And to bring it back to the Bendu, yeah, I've always kind of considered him to be on par or just in some way similar to the Force wielders or the ones, and I think we haven't seen the last of them yet, so I think we probably are going to learn more about them in Season 4 of Rebels. Chris Martinez asks if the Syndulla family was wealthy based on their home that we see in Star Wars Rebels Season 3. Yes, they were intended to be wealthy. Part of their estate is a water feature, which the show creators have talked about if you look through like the episode guide. They meant for that to be a sign of their wealth because having a water feature on a desert planet would be significant. And yes, they were intended to be a very influential family on Ryloth. Gabriel Moody wants to know how much we can trust actor interpretations. Because at Star Wars Celebration, Ian McDiarmid said that he absolutely believes that Anakin was born through the intervention of Palpatine. Now, I would always say take anything you hear from an actor with a grain of salt, but I don't think McDiarmid is far off base here. Palpatine definitely seems to be hinting at this in the opera scene of Revenge of the Sith, and I wouldn't be surprised if George Lucas gave McDiarmid additional information just so he knew what he was talking about. And all of this is true in the Darth Plagueis book, which I know is Star Wars Legends, but what I'm saying is I don't think we can take McDiarmid's word as absolute truth, but there's also plenty of evidence pointing towards what he's saying, so I don't necessarily think he's wrong. Matt Dlugonsky asks what Clone Wars content we can expect from Star Wars Battlefront 2. I would be surprised if any of the actual campaign or story took place during the Clone Wars unless it was like in a prologue scenario or maybe an introduction to the planet Vardos during that era. Outside of the campaign, I think we can expect to see all the major troop units, all of the major heroes, the ships, the planets, the locations. From what I can understand, it sounds like the Clone Wars era is going to have just as much content as the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy eras. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where I left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to some extra Star Wars Explained goodies like monthly giveaways or archived live streams, and the combined donations really go a long way in helping support the channel. On to YouTube questions. RML Co. asks, if I had my own Death Star, what canon planet would I destroy in the Star Wars galaxy? For a diplomatic answer, I'll go with Malachor, because nobody lives there, and I'd still get to blow up a planet. But for a juicier answer, which I think you're probably looking for, I'm going to go with Nemoidia. Because has there ever been a cool Nemoidian character? They're literally always jerks. Sturfelt wants to know if Darth Maul was always planned to be brought back after being cut in half in The Phantom Menace. No way. There's no way they planned that. I mean, as much as I love the Clone Wars episodes with Maul in them, his survival is insane. If they had planned to bring him back, they wouldn't have cut him in half. If they had planned to bring him back, his survival wouldn't have made literally everyone go, wait, what? So, no, I absolutely do not think that he was intended to be brought back to life after being cut in half and thrown down that shaft. Jenna Blakesley asks if I think we're going to see Anakin show up in The Last Jedi. I do think so. I don't have any evidence for that other than rumors and his recent appearance at Star Wars Celebration, and neither of those things have to mean anything. It's just something I think would be a good and logical connection to the prequel era from the sequel era, and I'd really like to see The Last Jedi tie in with all of the films more than The Force Awakens did. Spyros Canis, I hope I said that right, asks if I think Commander Cody is going to pop up in Star Wars Rebels Season 4. Again, I'm going to say yes here, but I have even less evidence. This is more just something that I hope happens, so I'm going to say yes and just put that out in the universe and hope that it comes back to me. But I think it would just be a missed opportunity if Rex and Cody never met back up, because both clones would view the other as a traitor. Rex would think that Cody betrayed the Jedi, and Cody would think that Rex betrayed his brother. And I can see both sides to that argument. Like, they're both loyal, just to different things. And there's no clear answer to who's right in this argument. So I think that their meeting up would be very dramatic and very interesting, and I want to see it. Nico asks if I would like to see a separatist battle droid pop up in any future movies. Absolutely yes. I always get really excited when Clone Wars era stuff starts showing up in original and sequel trilogy era content. There's a short story that takes place very shortly before The Force Awakens. It's about the Crimson Corsair and a secret treasure of Count Dooku, and that has battle droids and a clone trooper in it, and that story is just plain awesome. So yeah, I'd love to have more connective tissue like that binds all of the eras together. And if the hashtag in your comment is any indication, I would highly recommend you read the Poe Dameron comic, and I won't say anything more about why, just go read it, you'll like it. That's all the time I have for questions today. If you want to leave me a question for next week's Q&A, just put it in the comments below, or sign up on Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. Also, this past Wednesday, I was on the Science Faction podcast, and I have linked to that episode in the description of this video if anyone is interested in listening to it. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.